What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be going over topic 42, which is psychodynamic theories of personality, which we know Sigmund Freud is responsible for. First off, what's personality? Personality is an individual's characteristic patterns of thinking, acting, or feeling. Freud believed that personality was driven from the unconscious mind and that our past experience was the main determinism of behavior. He had this idea that the mind structure was set up in three different levels, those being the conscious, the preconscious, and the unconscious. He used the iceberg analogy in order to try and visualize it. So as you can see at the tip of the iceberg, it's in the surface and you can see that conscience lies there. And that's to try and explain that in our conscience we are fully aware and conscient. In the preconscious, it's slightly submerged in the water, but you can also see like the surface. That's in order to try and explain that currently, you're not conscious, but you can always go into the mind to try and retrieve whatever information you're trying and bring it into the for the unconscious, this is where it's completely submerged in the water. And according to Freud, is where unacceptable desires, wishes, and memories lie. So like we are completely unaware of what's in here. It can be it can be a form of defense mechanism, any unwanted or repressed feeling, any fears, stuff like that. So Stigma believed that the internal mind was set up in three unconscious parts or interacting systems, those being the ID, the superego, and the ego. According to Freud, the ID first emerges at birth and it's in the unconscious part of the mind, as you can see in the iceberg picture. So the ID wants immediate gratification for primitive urges such as hunger, thirst, and bodily needs. So the ID is based on the pleasure principle. And think of the ID as the devil in your shoulder. You know, when you see animations, you see the devil in the shoulder. And for adults, it's involved in sexual and aggressive drives. Now, and contrary to the ID is the superego. The superego is like the angel in the shoulder, and this is it acts as the moral compass or the conscience of the mind. It tries to focus on how we should behave, and what's right from wrong. So it's kind of like they're battling out from doing bad things to doing good things. Now there's the ego. The ego is the rational one. The ego is trying to find. It's based on the reality principle. The ego tries to find a way that both the super ego and the ID can be balanced out and be satisfied in a realistic way. So, for example, let's say that I'm sitting in class and I get hungry, and the ID immediately, I'm hungry, feed me. The superego will say, no, you're in class, you can't eat, pay attention. Now, the ego is going to think, okay, how can we balance this out? I can drink water and eat an apple in class, and then later on go out and eat something. In that way, both the ID and the superego are balanced out and satisfied in a realistic way. Freud also believed that children go through developmental stages, otherwise known as psychosexual stages. This is where the ID pleasure seeking focuses on body parts called erogenous zones, which I'll later go into. So there are 5 stages in the psychosexual stages of development. There's the oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genitals. Now, throughout the stages, there could be conflicts that will occur or be presented, and whether or not the result will determine if fixation occurs. Now, this is when you get fixated or get stuck on a specific stage that can later end up becoming maladaptive behaviors on the adult years. First is the oral stage, and it's from birth to 18 months. This stage focuses on the erogenous zone, the mouth. For example, in babies, they focus on biting, chewing, and sucking. Now, let's say that the baby has to transition from breastfeeding to eating solid foods. If the baby is unable to adapt, then it could come into oral fixation later on in the years, which means that it could have maladaptive behavior such as smoking, drinking, or nail biting. Next is the anal stage, and this is from 3 to 6 years. It focuses on the erogenous zone, the anal. This is where peeing and pooing comes in. So let's say that a baby needs to, or a kid needs to be taught how to potty train. If the parents push the baby to be potty trained at a very early age, and it gets stressed in any type of way, later on in the years, it could become obsessive to cleaning or super organized or have some form of OCD. Now, let's say that the parents don't teach the baby how to potty train and they just leave it at whatever at that stage. Then later on in the years, in its adult years, the the kid will probably become messy and unorganized. Now is the phallic stage. This is from 3 to 6 years, and it focuses on the erogenous zone, the genitals. This is where children learn how to differentiate between the body of a female and the body of a male. Um, in this stage, we see the Oedipus complex, as according to Freud, is when a boy gets unconscious sexual desire for his mother, and jealousy towards the father. This comes from the Greek legend of um, Oedipus. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. I'm sorry. Oedipus, which is where he unknowingly killed his father and married his mother. Unknowingly, but okay. Um, Psychoanalytics also find the same parallel in girls, which is called the electro complex, which is the same thing, just vice versa. Now, the latency stage is from 6 years to puberty. This is where sexual desires become dormant and there are no erogenous zones. It's a stable period where the kid usually focuses on school or other things. It doesn't have its mind on sexual feelings and stuff. The last stage is the genital stage, and this is from puberty and on, I guess, to the rest of your life. This is where maturation of sexual interest start to increase, and failure to do so could cause impotence or unsatisfying relationships.